If you're into gardening, you're probably already into this idea of reusing things. Just like when we built the house here at the Garden Home Retreat, all of the soil, that beautiful topsoil, probably the first 8 to 10 inches, I couldn't stand to throw away, so we stockpiled it and we used that soil for the terrace gardens just behind the house. And then when we got into the subsoil, well, we carried that away and used it to fill in some ravines. Now I've created this acre vegetable garden. And an acre, just to give you an idea, is 209 feet square. So 209 times 209, you get roughly this shape. Now this is slightly longer than it is deep, and it's just a little under an acre. And what I decided to do was take this little piece of ground here that had been already cut back in the 1950s. So there really weren't very many big trees here at all. There was a lot of brush, a lot of sawbriars and things like that. And we managed to save about a dozen pine trees that we're going to cut for poles for the barn that we're going to build. But anyway, the soil was so important to me to get right. It really needed to be amended. We started out with a good base, but I wanted to bring in a lot of compost, any sort of decayed organic matter. So we started with compost and then piled on top of that sand, and with that we took litter, or the sort of bedding that they use at the state fair for the livestock. We took all of that had been stockpiled and blended this together. Oh yeah, I can't forget about the chicken litter. We put chicken litter out here, and you could tell it for several days. But then we pushed all of that into this garden and then integrated it into the existing soil. Then came putting lime. Now, what you want to do with a vegetable garden is you want a pH that is somewhere between 6 and 7. And what we had was a little bit on the acidic side, so we added lime, and you can see some of the lime here on top of the ground. It looks like a dusting of snow. And that'll sweeten this soil because it's naturally acidic clay, what we have here. Now what I'm doing is I'm literally laying out the rows the way I want this vegetable garden to work. And I've come up with a 12-foot path that runs down the center, the north and south axis, and then radiating on each side of that 12-foot path will be perennial vegetable varieties or brambles or things that are going to persist in the garden that you don't plant year after year. For instance, we'll have blackberries, we'll have raspberries, we'll have blueberries, and then along in here there'll be asparagus and strawberries. These are plants that stay in the garden. And then in between these ribs, if you will, there'll be plenty of space to grow the annual vegetables, tomatoes and squash and cucumbers and onions and all of those sorts of things, and particularly potatoes. We're actually getting some potatoes planted today, and I'm very excited about that. However, when I think back when this process started, that was clearing the land, I tell you, it was quite a challenge. Recently, Dan Paskey came out to the Garden Home Retreat so we could discuss what we needed to do to prepare the property. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Alan. Well, we're making good progress out there.
Well, good. Well, it looks like it may start raining. I was hoping to get this crabapple in as soon as I could, but it looks like we'll have to wait until maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, the clouds are coming in.
Well, how'd it go?
Well, we're making some progress. I think the first thing we did was we went through the field and we picked out the big rocks with this front end loader and kind of pushed them out of the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of big rocks out there.
Yeah, we found quite a few. So we got those out of the way first, then we came back with the rotary cutter, went through and chopped it down nice and low. We got all that brush out of there for you. Yeah. Last thing I think we have to do after we finish with the rotary cutter is go back and get the small rocks out.
You didn't hit many rocks with it, I hope.
We hit a few, but for the most part, we did all right.
Yeah, good, good. Well, you know, I like getting the edges of these woods cleaned out because it helps on a lot of different levels. I like to run the sheep up in there in the summer because they've got a few trees to get under, so they get a little protection. Also, the poultry, we push the poultry houses up there. And last year, it was so close to that wood line, we had some predators come in and actually kill some of the birds. So cleaning that out, I think, is going to help.
Yeah, I think you won't have that problem next year. We got in and got a lot of that brush out. There's a little more to go.
Well, listen, I sure appreciate your help.
No problem. Always happy to help.
It's a big place. I need all the help I can get.